Hello, interwebs, and welcome to another Gamer for God review. Thank you for being here today. And as we get started, let's start with a word of prayer today. Dear Jesus, we do come before you. We, Lord, thank you that for this hobby of board gaming that you bless us with, Lord. And I pray that I can just use it for your glory, Lord, and we can have fun with it, Lord, but that I can help people to make decisions on what's going to be good for them, so that everyone can have a great time and give you the glory while so doing, without being a stumbling block in any way. So please be with me as I do this review, God, and just may it be well-pleasing in your sight. Lord, we love you and thank you for your love. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, well, if you didn't get the message here, this is going to be a board game review today. This is going to be of a game that came out last year from CMYK Games called Hot Streak. I'd show you the box, but my phone's resting on it. So you'll have to settle for the instruction manual. So that's what that looks like, which is not really what the box looks like very much. But CMYK Games, they had quite the year last year, releasing both Hot Streak and Magical Athlete, both which were very well received for them. They probably released some other things too that I don't remember off the top of my head, but those two alone were very major releases for them. And so today we're going to be looking at Hot Streak. What is Hot Streak? Hot Streak is a racing game, but we're not racing cars or horses or camels even, like in Camel Up. Today we're going to be racing mascots. That's right, we're at a sporting event of your choice, because the $1 bills, they have little basketballs on them. You can see that there is a basketball. And then the little $5 bills, they got baseballs like that. And then the $10 bills, they got little soccer balls. So lots of sporting events have mascot races, so you choose which one. We're going to be placing on some bets on which mascots that we think will win that race. That's right. It's like those men in the movie Rat Race that they just had to gamble on absolutely everything. That's apparently what the people in this game are supposed to be doing. They're going to even place bets on the mascot race. So, is it good? Is there any thing we should be concerned about as Christians? Let's talk about that. First, I'm going to give you an overview of the game here, just kind of how it works, and then we'll talk about my thoughts on the game. So let's take a look at the board and playing area here. I'm going to turn you around. All right, so Hot Streak. You can see this is the box, and the board actually comes out of the box. You pull it all the way down, and it makes this little field for them to run. It's pretty neat. You can see there's the box, and you turn this to roll the board back in. And you got the mascots down there ready to race, and when they're inside the box, there's a little window that you can see them in right there. That's where they sit. So looks all neat when it's put away even too. So what's going to happen in this game is these mascots here, so you can remember their name. The queen is Mum, the fish is Dangler, the hot dog is Hurley, and the bear is Gobbler. And you can see these are just people in a costume, because you can see the little eyes sticking out of their mouths or whatever. So but yes, these are the mascots for some sporting teams. And actually in the back of the instruction book is pretty cool. They have a little section that describes the origins of how these mascots came to be and their little backstory. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's just kind of fun. But these mascots are going to perform 3 races. And how these races are going to work is we're going to have a little deck of cards that's going to help us to show how these mascots move, right? So if you see a card that's got the fish with a 3 on it, that means good old Dangler there is going to go 3 spaces in the direction he's facing. 1, 2, 3. Yay for him. If it's got a 2 or 1, they're going to go that many spaces. If it's a green card, that means all mascots will move that many spaces in the direction they're facing. And I say in the direction they're facing because there are some negative cards that can do bad things to them. One such card is a card that says turn around. There's one. Yeah, so if he gets a 3 and he's turned around, he's going to go 3 spaces that way. Oh, it's very bad. And then sometimes the cards will make the mascots fall down, and the queen fell down, oh no. And then you have the recover cards as well, with like recover then 2. Recover means they're going to recover from any negative effects that are against them. So if they've fallen down, they're going to stand up. If they're turned around, they're going to face the right direction. If they have multiple things affecting them, they will recover from all of the things. So this is the setup here for a 7-player game. And I guess, sorry, there's a few other type of cards too. There's cards with a little star on it, like this. And that means, hey, the fish is going to go in the direction he's facing to the nearest star. So it might be here, it might be way down here, or if he's turning around, he's going to go over here. Oh no! So that's how the star cards work. And there's also some negative cards that just say, hey, characters are going to move this many spaces in the direction they're not facing. So that could be towards the finish line if they're turned around. But that's the various types of cards you'll see. Now, how to work is this is a setup for a 7-player game. So you're going to make a deck of cards, and these cards here, these recover 2s, every character has 1 recover 2, and then you add a different number of cards depending on how many players are playing the game. And then also each player that's playing the game is going to add 1 card each race. And so essentially you're going to come down to a deck of 18 cards for each race. Now at the beginning of the game, you know all these cards went in there, but then you don't know what each player put in there. But as the game goes on, between each race, you're going to shuffle this 18 card deck, and you're going to deal 1 card back to each player. So each player always has 3 cards. The players start the games with 3 cards. But the deck is getting a little less knowable as the game goes on, as cards are being removed from it, and you don't know exactly which ones. So you start with a good amount of information, and that information becomes a little less clear as the game goes on. And then each race, the players are going to choose 2 bets, right? So, and you'll do that in a snake draft. So you pick a starting player, they pick one, you go all the way around the table. The last player will pick 2 bets, and then everybody else in reverse order will pick their second bet. And so your bets mostly are, you can bet on the mascots. The earlier you pick your bet, the more it's going to be worth, right? So the first person to pick Gobbler here gets $10 for first, 7 for second, 5 for third, or he'll get, the next person would get 7 for first, 5 for second, and 3 for third. And you can do safe or risky. That basically means if you go risky, they're going to get more money if they win, $15, but less money if they get second or third, only $5 or $2. If you go safe, they'll get less money for first, only $10, but more money for second and third, $7 or $5. And so each mascot has 3 betting tokens there. You can also do one of these side bets, and these side bets come in various flavors, like will Gobbler finish in the bottom 2? So will Gobbler get 3rd or 4th place? Will a mascot crawl in the final stretch? So if somebody's fallen down and they need to move, instead of going the listed number of spaces, they just go 1 space instead. They crawl. Will a mascot be knocked out? Will there be a mascot eliminated from the race? And so on and so forth. And you can bet on these either yes or no. And if you're safe, you'll get, $10 here for being right, $0 for being wrong. But if you're risky, you'll get more money if you're right, but you have to pay $5 if you're wrong. And that's why each player is going to start the game with $10 as well. So there is that. Excuse me. Sometimes you just got to sneeze. Never at a moment when you want it. So anyway, each player will pick 2 bets, and then they'll race. How the race will work is you'll take all the cards here, which there will be these plus all the cards that each player adds in. You'll shuffle them up, and once they're shuffled, as you start the race, what you're going to do is you're going to say, ready, set, go. So you'll actually burn the first 3 cards of the deck. Then you'll start to reveal them 1 card at a time, and this is what's going to remove people. This is what's going to move the racers down the track. So this says recover then 2. So yay, the hot dog goes forward 2 spaces. And then this one says, oh no, the fish is falling down. And now then the hot dog goes forward 2 more spaces, and so on and so forth. And what will happen is if a player ever crosses the finish line, they immediately get the highest available position that had already been taken. If a player is eliminated for any reason, they take the lowest available position that hasn't already been filled. How do players get eliminated? Well, if for any reason they ever run off the track, they're eliminated. So let's say the bear is turned around and then he gets his move 3 card. Well, he's run off the track, so he would be eliminated. If they swerve off the track, some cards say, move 2 and then swerve to the right. So if she moved 2 spaces and then swerved to the right, she'd be off the board, so she'd be eliminated. So that will eliminate them. And also, every time you go through this deck of cards, if the race is not yet finished, then this thing is going to fold up to the nearest white line, solid white line. And if there's any players still in this section of the map, they get eliminated. So you either finish the race by crossing the finish line or by getting eliminated in one of the methods I just said. And then after the race is over, everybody looks at their bets and either pays money or gets money. And then that's pretty much it. You'll do that 3 times. Now, the last race, you pick one of the 2 bets and it's going to collect double the money. And if you ended up having to pay $5 for it, you pay $10 instead. So the last race does work out a little differently. But that's pretty much about it. You play for 3 races, and whoever has the most money at the end is the winner, technically. The rule book doesn't actually say that. The rule book just says you consult your life outcomes. So at the back of in the back of the book, I won't show you, but there's a lot of life outcomes, and it might be something like, hey, if you got $42, you bought a bunch of peanuts and you started a peanut farm. It's mostly silly things like that. So that is how you play Hot Streak. And now let's talk about my thoughts on it. All right, Hot Streak. Well, there you go. That is how it works. Component-wise, let's talk about that. It does have paper money, so bleh. Definitely not a fan of that. But the board, you saw how it folds out. You have the mascots themselves are just fantastic. The little betting tokens are real nice. Nice solid cardboard there. The cards, good, like them a lot. So, and it's really cool how it comes out of the box and goes back in there. So it's really neat components, and also really well made, except for the paper money. Could have done without that. But, I'm not going to fault it too much there. Now, is there anything in this game? Let's talk about. Is there anything in this game that I think a Christian should be concerned about that would be unbiblical? Things like this. It is obviously a game about gambling, so obviously, as people who are trying to be good stewards of the financial situations that God has blessed us with, we're not big advocates of gambling, and I don't think the Bible's a tremendous advocate of gambling either. But, obviously there's no real money on the line here, so your mileage may vary with your thought there. I don't personally have a problem with it, knowing that it is not real money. And it's also, even can be a good opportunity to show people or to show the kids, like, hey, this is why you don't gamble, because it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, and then you just lose a bunch of money. So I think there's good lessons that can be taught about the danger of gambling, even through playing this. And again, it's not real money. And you don't even really have to call it gambling or betting. You can just say, hey, we're going to try to predict who's going to win, or we're going to try to take a guess at who's going to win. If you want to downplay that aspect, it's pretty easy to do so. And that's the beauty of board gaming in general, is it's a much cleaner hobby than video gaming. Video games, they look much more realistic, right? And if you're playing a shooter game, well, people are going to be getting parts blown off, and it's going to look very real. If you're playing some sort of modern uh, game with good graphics and whatnot. In a board game, you could be playing, a brutal war game, but it's just little pieces moving around on the board. It's not graphic, so you can always downplay the theme and kind of adjust it to, to whatever. But it's not nearly as graphic as a presentation in a movie or a video game would be. And so that's kind of the nice thing about it. And that's why I think in the Christian community, board games have a lot of appeal, especially newer board games here, because they are much less graphic, and you also kind of you get that face-to-face interaction, which is so badly often lacking in our world today. So so there's the gambling aspect to think about, and that's really it. That's the only thing I would say. Take that into consideration before you play it. If you're going to sit down to a group of people where they will think, oh no, this gambling is not anything I want to have to do with. If it would be offensive to them in any way, you might consider that. Again, I don't think what you're doing here is unbiblical. It's not, again, real money. So obviously we want to be good stewards of the real money that God has given us. But I don't, I think you can pretend here and it's an okay thing. I don't think you're sinning by pretending to gamble here. But again, we don't want to be a stumbling block for our brothers and sisters. So I would take that into consideration as you think about whether you want to play this game or not. And that's really it. The only other thing I would say is on the life outcomes, sometimes they can say something that might be slightly crude. Most of them are just fine and mostly just kind of silly and random. But every once in a while, it'll say something kind of like, that's kind of not great. So just read those before you read them out loud and adjust if necessary, or just pick another life outcome, or whatever. A lot of ways you can get around that. The game itself, what do I think of it? I mean, look, I can't lie. I think this game is amazing. I absolutely love it. And I'm not like, every time I review a game, I'm not going to be like, this is the best game ever. But this is the best game ever. All right, this might not be the best game ever, but it is just amazing. I think so much fun. It's always just hilarious to see the mascots go down the track, and every time one of them falls down or turns around, everybody's just laughing and having a good time. And this game plays up to 8 people, so it can play a pretty large group. This is definitely a family-style party-type game. And that's one of the things I love about it, too, is it's just so accessible. I mean, anybody can play this game, right? I can play this with my youngest children. You can play this with 2-year-olds. I've played this with 2-year-olds, and they can play. Because really, you don't have to do much. You pick your 2 bets, and you can just completely pick those at random if you want to do that. And I didn't say you can pick 2 different bets, or you could bet on the same thing twice as well. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. But you really don't have to have any strategic knowledge. Now, it is nice that it gives you some information, so you can kind of strategize a little bit if you want, and you can say, oh, look, well, the hot dog, he's got 4 movement cards in there that we know about, and everybody else only has 1, so I think my odds are looking pretty good. And you can bet like that, and you can still just get completely hosed and just like, oh, no, the hot dogs cards, they just got burned off the top of the deck every time, and we never saw those, so that can happen. But it's nice that you can make that kind of decision if you want, or you can just completely randomly just like, I think the bear looks cute, so I'm gonna bet on the bear. You can do whatever, but it is so great. It's hilarious. It's so much fun. And the life outcomes are silly, and it's just fun to kind of read those and to read the the origin stories and the backgrounds of each of the mascots here. So yeah, I highly recommend this game. Again, as a Christian, take into consideration the gambling theme. Make sure it's going to be offensive to anybody you're playing with. Again, it's not real money, so I think you're not sinning by playing it. But it is something to take into consideration because a lot of people could be offended by. A lot of people in the Christian community could be offended by such a thing. So something to think about. But honestly, I think it's great. It's a blast. You can play this with anybody. You could play it with toddlers. You could play it with elderly folks. You could play it with anybody in between. And honestly, my two favorite games that I played last year were Hot Streak and Galactic Cruise. Both, I think, great games. But if I'm being honest, I like this even better than Galactic Cruise. If for no other reason by virtue of I know I'm going to get at the table more often. And I know so many more people are going to be able to play this one and enjoy it. Galactic Cruise is amazing. I love it. But this is definitely my favorite game from last year. My favorite new game from last year. So if we're putting a number on it, this is definitely a 10 for me. It's hilarious. It's fun to see if your bets pay off, and it's real fun when they do. And this is a game. There's lots of excitement. There's lots of yelling. People around the table hooping and hollering. And you should keep that in mind too. If your group isn't into that sort of thing, maybe this game isn't going to resonate super strongly with them. But I think 9 out of 10 times, most people are going to really enjoy this game. And if there are people who don't play board games, I think they'll enjoy this game, right? This is a game that you can play with, just anybody. Literally anyone can play this. It's that simple. And it's a blast. It's a high recommendation from me. 10 out of 10. You're almost guaranteed every time just to laugh and have a great time. And that's what it's about, right? If you should be able to sit down to a game and it should be fun, right? You should be laughing and a lot of talking and all that sort of stuff. Now I know when you can have the strategy games, you can have fun and it looks a little different, and it may not be screaming and yelling and hooping and hollering and all these things, but in this case you would be hard pressed to find a better time than Hot Streak. So high recommendation from me. Check it out. Hot Streak. It's not too hard to get it now. I think it's definitely went through periods where it's been tough to get this year, but I think at this point they're finally starting to kind of get it more in stock. It's usually around $40 if you're buying it new. So, and if it's between print runs, just wait. Don't go pay $100 for it. If you ain't got to, they'll print it again. So, anyway, that's Hot Streak. Thank you for watching. I pray it was a blessing to you and helps you make an informed decision of whether you think this game is for you or not. And I hope you do, because I think this game is for everybody. So you can either love this game or you can be wrong. Just kidding. Hey, if you don't like the game, tell me all about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll have more content for you soon. All right, have a blessed night. Talk to you later. Bye.